In 1915, world witnessed one of the greatest military operations in the history of mankind, the Battle of Gallipoli, in which the global superpowers failed to destroy the sick man of Europe, the Ottoman Empire. The Gallipoli campaign became one of the most significant events in late Ottoman history. Despite being left to fight alone against France and Britain, the Ottomans displayed remarkable resilience and ultimately shattered all of the Entente's hopes of swiftly dismantling the Middle Eastern Empire. Everyone was aware of the problems faced by Turkey, especially their enemies. The economy, politics, infrastructure and army, everything had collapsed. The culmination of this century-long decline was the Italo-Turkish War of 1911. As a result of losing this war, the Ottomans also lost their last African colony, Libya. Immediately after, the First Balkan War commenced, leading to the loss of almost all Ottoman territories in Europe, except for their capital, Constantinople, and the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits. In just 2 years, from 1911 to 1913, the Ottomans went from this to this. The situation was catastrophic. Their only ally at that time was the German Empire, which assisted in reforming various aspects of their governance. They were everywhere. The Germans played a significant role in modernizing the Ottoman army and constructing extensive railroads, including the Berlin-Baghdad Railroad, a massive project aimed at connecting Germany with the Middle East. If you think that the Ottomans constructed at least their portion of this grand railway, no, they couldn't do it. The Germans had to do everything. Under such conditions, the Ottoman Empire entered World War I. Did they want to join this conflict? No. Did they have a chance to escape it? I don't think so. They were under intense pressure from both sides. The Central Powers and the Entente wanted to open new front lines to shift the focus away from the Western Front and look for new keys to victory. The key they found was the Ottoman Empire. The defeat of the Ottoman Empire would be a jackpot for the Entente, particularly for Russia. If the Entente destroyed the Ottoman Empire, they would gain control of the Bosporus and the Dardanelles Straits, enabling Russia to connect with the rest of the Entente by sea. The Russians would finally achieve their long-standing objective of gaining control over the city of Constantinople. This could potentially persuade Greece and Bulgaria to join the war on the side of the Entente. Let's be honest, the idea is brilliant. The Ottoman Empire is real weak and entered the war accidentally. So, what could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. The Entente's plan was simple and consisted of 4 points: defeating the outer Ottoman forts in the Dardanelles, sweeping minefields and destroying intermediate fortifications, destroying internal forts and fortifications, reaching the Sea of Marmara. The top leadership of the Entente approved this plan. An Anglo-French squadron, comprising 80 ships and vessels, was sent to the Dardanelles. The Western Allies expected that once the squadron reached the Sea of Marmara, the Russian Empire would launch its own naval invasion of the Bosporus Strait. The Allies believed that this would lead to the immediate surrender of the Ottomans, as they would be unable to defend against 2 naval invasions simultaneously. The operation began on the 19th of February 1915. During the first months, the Western Allies started shelling the Ottoman forts in the Dardanelles and began minesweeping in the straits. The situation started to escalate as no one was willing to retreat. A general attack on the Dardanelles was scheduled for March 18, 1915. This attack was the first sign that something was going wrong, because it completely failed. The Ottoman losses were minimal, but the Allied squadron suffered significant damage to their valuable ships. However, this major failure didn't deter the Entente from their main goal, to cross the Dardanelles Straits. Okay, if we can't cross the straits by sea, then we need to capture them, and we will attract a lot of people to do this operation. All or nothing. This was the hidden slogan of the operation. After the failure of the naval operation, the British command decided to land troops on the Gallipoli Peninsula. By capturing the peninsula, it would be possible to occupy the fortifications of the European coast of the Dardanelles and ensure the passage of the fleet into the Sea of Marmara. To perform an operation on the island, a massive military force consisting of British, French, Australian and New Zealand troops with a total number of 75,000 people and 140 guns were gathered in Mudros. The troops were supported by an impressive fleet of 18 battleships, 12 cruisers, 40 destroyers and 12 submarines, making it one of the largest and most well-equipped military operations of its time. On April 25, 1915, troops were landed on the southern tip of Gallipoli and the western coast near Gaba Tepe after a brief bombardment. Diversionary demonstrations were also carried out in the Kumkale region on the Asian coast and in the Gulf of Saras. Overall, the landing was successful, and the troops were able to establish a foothold in their bridgeheads. After the first day of the landing operation, Allied losses were enormous, about 18,000 people. The Ottoman Fifth Army completed almost all of its tasks, but the Ottoman command lacked the means to finally throw the enemy landing forces into the sea. Further battles showed that conducting offensive operations on the peninsula entails significant losses. The rugged terrain, the small number of field artillery, and the low effectiveness of naval fire made artillery preparation ineffective, and attacks on fortified positions only led to large casualties. Both sides continued to gather reserves at Gallipoli, which were quickly depleted in battles that brought no significant results. The Dardanelles campaign was a total disaster for the Entente. The last attempt to turn the tide of the operation was a landing in Suvla Bay. Starting from August 6, about 60,000 people landed in the bay area. At the same time, the offensive began on the other bridgeheads. The result was similar to all previous battles: colossal losses and minimal successes. By the fall of 1915, the front on Gallipoli had become static, and it was decided to end the operation and withdraw the remaining troops. With the assistance of the fleet, the evacuation was completed by January 9, 1916, and the Dardanelles operation came to an end. For the Turks, the Battle of Gallipoli has special significance also because one of the organizers of the defense of the Dardanelles was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the future founder and president of the Turkish Republic. Largely thanks to the successes of Turkey and Germany, Bulgaria entered the war on their side. In 2 years, the World War I ended up, and the Ottoman Empire has capitulated. As a result, the Anatolian Peninsula became chaotic once again. During the Turkish War of Independence, the Entente made the same mistake they made during the Dardanelles campaign by assuming that the Germans were responsible for the Ottoman victory. However, the reality was that the Turks played a crucial role in it. Yes, after the First World War, the Ottoman Empire ceased its 600 years existence. But you must agree that the Dardanelles campaign was a great victory and a worthy final for the Ottoman Empire, which was considered the sick man of Europe. Never underestimate your opponent, especially twice. This is the main lesson of the Dardanelles campaign.